update. Just going to share my screen with you. Now, here's an interesting question. Today being a Sunday, and you're preparing for the week coming up, what is uppermost in your mind? What are you looking out for? Anyone, just post it in the chat box. Being a Sunday today, the 26th of April, and you're preparing for your week, what are you looking out for? What's uppermost on your mind? Anyone in the chat box? There's no right or wrong answers. They all will be right. But I just want to see if anyone is thinking the way that I'm thinking just before I get started. Nice. Hormuz, Straits of Hormuz, of course, that's impacting everything, right? Not just oil. Anyone else? Let's talk technical, okay? Technical things on your charts. Try to get a good trade to consider, okay? All right. I'm with you. I don't want to dig into that. Anyone else? What else are you looking for? Technical things. The fundamentals, of course, we know it's one of the big things, is what's happening Middle East. USD, yeah, okay, looking at USD, virtually everything, unless you trade in crosses, is anchored around the USD. So whatever happens with USD has an impact on everything. Anyone else? Technically, on your charts, what would be something that one of the things that should be on your list? Pound Swissy, pound New Zealand. Okay, in terms of that's the markets that you're looking at. All right, let's so remember I said there's no right or wrong answers because that's the way you're looking at, right? Different markets, different impacts, fundamentals, based on what you're looking at, what is likely to move. All of that is perfectly fine. Now, here's one other thing that I recommend you add to your things to look out for this particular week. And the reason I'm saying for this particular week, it's simply this week is the last week of the month. So if it's the last week of the month, in addition to all the markets that you're looking at and everything you're looking at, you have to be looking at the monthly chart, any market. And on that monthly chart, you have to be looking at what happened last month. And if you see what happened last month, like now I've got gold open, they say, oh my goodness, gold had that big reversal, big sale. And yes, that's correct. But there's only two things, very simple, that you need to look at, put on your charts, and then you can then move on to whatever time frame that you're trading. So let's look at last month. This is what I recommend all of us do. Depending on how you're trading, if you don't already have this been popped up for you by the indicators that you trade. In other words, if your indicators don't already show you the high and the low of the previous month, you gotta put it in. If your indicators show you the high and the low of the previous month, then no need to worry about it. It is there. So I'm gonna go through 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 markets. They don't necessarily represent anything and everything, but it's a fairly good spread of commodities, currencies, indexes. And all I want to point out for you is the key levels of last month. So this is gold. And that is the high of last month. That's the low of last month. Now, if we had been at the end of March, which was this month here, we would have said the same thing. For end of March, we would have said That's the month of March. So let's assume if we went back to the same kind of time period in March, so we were into the last week of March, and we're saying okay, let's rephrase this. If we were trading into this month here, okay, the month that we're in, which is pretty small, we would have said, all right, so let's go in and let's have a look. This is the month of February. High low would have taken that. We are trading in March, preparing to go into April. So depending when this took place, we would have said, okay, we took out the high of February already. Remember, we would then be in the month of March, and March is coming to the end. We would have had this there saying, okay, this is what took place. And we don't know when this took place. So if we were in the third week of March and this hadn't taken place, we would have the low of February as a key level. And we're saying, well, the bears are strong. Look how extraordinarily strong the bears are. This is now throughout the month of March. And you'd have the low of February in. And you'd keep that there and say to yourself, well, if the bears are strong, whenever this is taking place, they still have to take out the low of February. If they take out the low of February and then close beneath the low of February, then we can say the bears have taken over the market by taking out, clearing, breaking through the low of February and closing beneath it. But that didn't happen in March. So as strong as this bear candle was, it is a bear candle, it's a bear loss, as strong as it was in terms of the body being so big outside that body, when the month ended, the bulls would have said, well, I mean, this was strong. Maybe we got stopped out or whatever the case may be, it took place. But hang on, have a look at this. We did not close beneath the low of the month. So the case for the bears is weak. Now, something coming into the last week of April, we have the high and the low of March. We got 4 days to go. Who knows what can happen? No one knows. As long as the bears in these last 4 days don't have the strength to break out beneath the low of this candle and close beneath it, we cannot say the bears have taken over the market, gold is going to crash. We can't say that. There is no valid technical reason. Other things may be brewing in fundamentals. You may see them and look at them and say, okay, so maybe that's what's taking place. But as far as this chart is concerned, unless the bears break out beneath it and close beneath the level, just like in this month, yes, they broke out beneath the low of the previous month, but they didn't close beneath it. So the bulls, we did all of this, came back and defended the values of these assets. So now that's what we're looking at. As far as gold is concerned, so far, I mean, it's a small body. Doesn't mean that there's little activity. There is huge volumes between the bulls and the bears that have kept this price here. If the bulls had given up and said, oops, let's get out of gold, guess what would have happened? We already would have been seeing the bears breaking out beneath here. They may do that, who knows? If the bears that created these are not strong enough, the bulls, of course, say, okay, let's took some profits, whatever happened, let's start to build back the value of the assets. So the high of the month and of the previous month and the low of the previous month, absolutely critical for us going forward. So that kind of thinking is what needs to be working through our minds. And I'm going to just trying to work through all of them as much as possible without doing the same depth of interpretation. But you're free to pop in a question if you want me to slow down. Oil. Now, oil has been absolutely interesting. I mean, we all know what took place and when that happened, but we do have. I'm on the monthly chart, by the way. We do have a high of last month and do have a low of last month. So the thing that we're looking at is we're coming to the end, the last week of the month. So monthly levels become extremely significant. You need to just have a look at them depending on how you trade. But just be aware of them because it is the big institutions, the big decision makers that really want to influence where that monthly candle closes. Okay, if you think about it, you're not going to have the biggest institutions fighting over, a 1 minute candle or a 2 minute or 3 minute candle. They're just going to wait for the end of the week, end of the month. I mean, they're going to be participating, but the key thing for them is to say, hang on a second, month is coming to an end. This is where we're at. Whatever caused all of this, I think we're aware of it. We came back to try and test these highs. And now, are the bulls going to be strong enough? Do they have sufficient energy to accelerate prices so that oil goes higher and higher, whatever, 200, 300, I don't know, whatever oil wants to go to. Or after all is been factored in, the bears are saying, okay, this asset is within the right range. We've got a high there with a low. It's going to stay within here for as long as possible. Maybe we'll test the low of the month at some stage or not. So as far as oil is concerned, we have these key levels. The bulls were strong, but this tail showed us that the bears did not just lie back. Some points, they were overwhelmed. But now who is going to be strong? We are right at this level here where we closed last month, within that vicinity. So it's going to be a big battle. So oil, that's what you must look out for. Look at currencies, yen, same thing. I mean, this or it depends how many markets you're looking at, but it shouldn't take you too long to make sure these levels are in place. So you just leave them in place, and then if you trade in the daily, when it pops up on the daily and you see that green line, okay, whatever color view is a high of last month. What do the bulls want? Well, pretty straightforward. If you don't try and do a deep down analysis. We were in some range, and the bulls are saying, hang on, we need to keep buying and buying and get back into this range, and maybe we can just keep going higher. Bullish price action. The bears, of course, after selling off and coming below the trading range, disappointed in terms of bear candle, bull candle, bear candle, bear, bull. The bears would have just loved that sell-off to carry on. So we are caught within a trading range. And right now, this is a monthly chart. Remember, we're in the middle of last month. The bears currently control the candle after opening on the high. That's where we opened and selling off. So if you wanted to kind of say, well, who might have an upper hand just by looking at the chart, who should invest a lot more to achieve their goals, you could say the bears, right? So that they just carry on and reverse this bullish price action, and we keep going down with bull, bear, until maybe they want to do something like this. Just keep going down, alternating who is in control. That was Swissy. Sorry, my eyes caught the yen, USD Swissy. Now we're going to USD yen. Another thing, just to make this thing easier for us when we're going through it. So you want to note the high and the low of last month. Then also ask yourself a very straightforward, simple question. Is there any trend? You know, was there any trend? If we were doing the high and the low of the month and here we say, oh, okay, bullish price action. So maybe the bulls, can overwhelm. But is there any trend here? We are at this high, within the range of that high. Bears, bulls, sideways price action. Um, and now we are almost near the high. So bulls have a bit of an up advantage, but nothing dramatic for me to say, guys, on your trends, go and look at the yen. If bulls are strong, what do you think they'll be looking at? Well, there's a high of last month, but if you just look to the left, there is a key level. I mean, if you did that, you can say, ooh, okay, that is an all-time high. So the bulls have huge incentive to, in this last month, the last few days, to accelerate up, break out above the high of last month, and then just take out that high. Then everyone can say, oops, maybe yen is going to start doing this. Just looking at the cues. Okay, first question. Mankirath, do you wait a little to see where the market goes during the week? In terms of where the market goes, remember what we're doing here is preparing for the week. Okay, so all we're doing is looking, this is the last week of the month. That's why we're looking at the high and low of last month. This is the last week of the month. So all we're doing on the Sunday, before we go into the last week of the month, is put the highs and the lows of the month. That's it. Then you go into the week and you keep these lines there and see what happens when we get to those levels of, in this case, support or resistance. Red line is the low. So these lines that I've got here, they are looking, I'm on the monthly chart. I'm looking at the high and the low of last month. That's it. That's all we are doing. Excellent. Okay. All right. Currency, euro. I'm going to put it in, but immediately, without doing much analysis, you can see for yourself where we are in a trading range. Low of last month, high of last month. So if we are in that trading range, is there anything similar on the chart that we're looking at that can tell us kind of pattern that we're in? Well, this kind of stuff. Trading range, trading range, trading range. I mean, with all that is taking place, bear candle last month, but still within the trading range. I mean, with another bear candle, bull, bear candle. Bulls broke out above the high, failed, we're back within the range. So this month, this particular week, unless something dramatic happens that can force the bulls or the bears to break out of a range or the bulls to start going up, chances are we might just end up in that trading range because nothing here is showing us any strength. But on bulls, trading range, who has a higher probability if you're trying to really extract it? Well, the bulls should follow up and say, well, that's a bit of a pullback. Let's try and test that level, those levels, because we just had a few bear candles in. But we don't want to go into much interpretation, just looking and saying, if I'm looking for trends, maybe I'll walk away from this particular one. By the way, if you're using one particular chart and you see your lines popping up everywhere, all it means is that on MT4, there are some prices that are within the same range. So when you change the chart, the lines just stay where they are. Pound USD monthly. Bulls from two bear candles within a trading range. Bulls have managed to reverse the bearish price action of last month. What the bulls need to then convince the market that the bulls might be ready to do this is to stay above the high of last month in this past week. Bit more selling, close with a decent enough trend candle. And then, the bulls next month must say, okay, we have sufficient strength of last month. Let's put another candle to close above these levels and accelerate up. But we're just making assumptions, right? Something dramatic may happen, and we might end up with maybe a candle that big, and the bulls appear, and then everyone wants to jump in and buy the pound USD. So when you see going into the last week that we're talking about, the bulls above the high of yesterday, high of last month, it doesn't mean that you have to ignore the bear case. All it means is as the bulls were buying, and they could see the high of last month coming, that high of last month as you're buying was resistance, right? So it was something that they had to try and break above. And then they managed to break out above it, and the bulls have the opportunity to keep going. But for the that what was resistance once the market is going up becomes a level of support, which means if the bulls are strong, they don't want the price to break below that new level of support. Okay, so the resistance now becomes support. The bulls are strong, they just want it to keep going. So you keep the level there. You don't take it off because it has been breached. You're only going to take it off when you move into the next month. Look at some indexes now, because they're all if you're looking at price action, and probably let me say that if you don't see the name of the asset and the time frame, and if you don't see the price axis, chances are, well, you won't even know what chart it is. You can't tell me. It's an impossibility. So I'm saying that because when we see something that's similar to what we've seen, we're not going to hang around on it. So we can just put all of this up. So trading range, price action so far, and there is your high, and there is a low. That's all you got to put in. And then we're going to just move on because of price action that we've kind of spoken about. Let's look at Nikkei 225. Oh, that's different, isn't it? Why is that different? We have the high of last month, we have the low of last month, and we have something interesting. Right as of Friday, the bulls are closing at the high of the previous month. So they've completely reversed the bear candle of last month. That's good strength for the bulls, broken above the high of the month. And so far, they have a close above the high of last month. But also of great interest is they are closing above the high of the previous month. So bulls have a strong case. Bulls are strong. They can just say, well, we were just testing strength, pulling back. Bullish price action, where these bears coming in trying to reverse it. They had a good candle, but they failed to close beneath the low of the previous month. Now the bulls are strong. So the bulls just want to accelerate. If there are the bulls that were waiting to see this kind of price action, they're going to be jumping in this week and they're going to be buying. And you can expect, if the bulls are strong, that this candle can become larger. DAX. It's not interesting, contrary to what we've just seen on Nikkei 225. There is a DAX tight trading range. Big, good for, this was very good for the bears. Why was it good for the bears? Big bear body closing beneath all of this, but the bears failed to do anything about it. And now we are back inside of that candle. Are the bulls going to be strong enough? That becomes the question for this particular index. They have a problem to get above that level of resistance. And if the bears come back, or the bears at a good candle, they need to really sell dramatically in this particular week. US 30, Dow Jones, unlike the Nikkei is already closed above the previous month, but good bull candle outside of that candle right at the high of last month. If the bulls are strong, they're going to just come accelerating out, and you should expect to see positive or bullish price action. Stronger bulls trying to take out that level. They already, people look at pricing, but they're pretty close to closing above the high of the last month. All they need is to get there, but the bulls just need to do that. If they can do that for this week and just close there, then next week we can expect, next month can expect more price action, bullish price action. UK 100, big bear candle. Well, what's happening with this particular market right now? You're going to say indecision. Why? Because we're almost in the middle of the last month's candle. Okay, both sides have an opportunity. Bulls can come out buying and just give us a bull candle closing above here. All the bears need to do is to close beneath this body. They don't even need to take out that close. The bears create a bear body closing beneath that last month close. Then traders will say, well, okay, we had a bear high test, a bear low test with another bear candle just closing here. Maybe the following month may become more bearish. But indecision is what's ruling on the FTSE UK 100. And look at this. This is US 100 tech stocks. I mean, that just tells a story, right? Somewhere during the month, bulls broke out above the high of last month, high of previous month, all-time high. I mean, this is as bullish as you can get at this present time. This is a monthly chart. Okay. So can the bulls sustain this? Well, we're talking about we're in the last week of the month. Right? They don't need to do much. If they just held their position, even with buying, selling, and just close there, they have indicated strength. And trends can just keep going on, and there could be a lot more coming for this month. But so far, for the bears to reverse this, they really need to be very strong and put as much forces and money in as possible to get beneath this all-time high and take off all of these highs and come back and close within here. And lastly, US 500. Still the same story, but not as dramatic as the NASDAQ. So same kind of story. All right, let's see. It's a comment, it's a question. So for USDN, would you say there's still some room for longs to retest the high of last month? Let's put USDN back quickly. Would you say there's some room for longs to retest the high of last month? Okay, so for bulls, this is USDN. The high of last month is still there. See that? That high of last month. It hasn't been tested yet this month. So the bulls still need to break out above that. Okay, they still need to get there. And if they get there, if they have strength, then they need to break out above it. So for this particular one, if we do that, so I've just popped it to the daily. That's last month. So the bulls, they got there, but it's nowhere near that high. They need to get out above that. And if they are strong, then they'll need to give us successive bull candles, just keep going higher. Okay, so there is room, just by looking at it, for the bull still to test that level. All right, traders, just making sure I haven't left any questions. I'm sure I haven't. Thank you very much. I hope that that's something that you can add on to your pre-market analysis for this coming week. All the best with the trading, and we will catch up again.